Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is March 28th, 2024. This is Master Advisor number 87. I'm so excited for the episode today. It's one we've done a couple of times with our guest, but one that really always helps me personally. And I know a lot of advisors get a lot out of it too. So I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this all week, but I do want to make some announcements first, and then I'll go ahead and introduce our guest. As always, just a couple of quick things to make sure that you're getting the best viewing experience out of these. You're going to want to switch into speaker view, which everyone can do by toggling on the top right. And then also the chat on the bottom right is going to be open as we go along today. If you don't have it open, Zoom sometimes has you toggle out of it through those three dots with the more on the bottom. But we love taking questions from the chat. We love hearing from you, and we love the questions that come in that hopefully will add a little more to the discussion. So please don't be shy. Drop any questions you have in the chat, any tips, any communication is very much appreciated. I see a lot of familiar names in the chat in the room with us. So thanks to everyone who was here a couple of weeks ago to talk about a positive mindset and wellness with Heather Stewart from Travel Masters. That was really a different kind of session for us. Something almost polar opposite of what we're doing today, but I really did enjoy it. We got a lot of great comments, a lot of great feedback. If you do want to rewatch it, you can head over to YouTube. We'll drop the link to that in our chat right now as we go through today. That going over there helps us a whole lot. It helps us grow this community. So if you are over there, you're watching one of our videos, please go ahead and subscribe, go ahead and like, go ahead and comment on the videos. That helps us keep growing this community and keep bringing you these every couple of weeks. One last reminder, our next session will be on April 11th. We have a repeating guest today. We bring another one back in a couple of weeks. Angela Hughes is going to be joining us. She's going to be talking about why luxury advisors need a sales strategy and tips on how to make one. We're really excited about that one. We love talking to Angela, and we love talking about luxury advisors and luxury travel. So please come back a couple of weeks if you have the time. You can go ahead and register. The link is in the chat right now. Okay. All right, so I'm so excited to bring back our guest. It's someone who joined us way back when we started this series and someone who came back last year. I'm really excited to have Carrie Dyer from Brownell Travel back to Master Advisor. We're going to be talking about tools you can use to streamline your workflow today. Before we get into that, I just want to say thank you, Carrie, for joining us, and we are really excited to have you.
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be back. This is always such fun.
Yeah, and I know, like I mentioned, you've been with us twice. Hopefully, Tom can go ahead and drop the previous sessions in the chat, the links to them. But for those who may not know you, Carrie, would you want to take a couple minutes and just introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure, I would love to. So I'm Carrie Dyer, and I'm the Chief Development Officer at Brownell Travel. And this has been my entire career. I've been in the travel industry for over 30 years. I did incentive travel. I worked for Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. I worked for Mandarin Oriental. And then I joined Brownell Travel. It'll be 7 years in May. And so we are a host agency. We also have an incentive travel division, and in my role, I oversee talent development, which includes recruiting and the advancement of our advisors as best we can. We have a business coach on staff, and then I oversee marketing and I oversee our partners team. So we're always looking at how everyone in the industry can do better. We are huge advocates for the industry, and that whole idea of rising tides rises all boats. So delighted to be here.
Again, we're really excited to have you. I see some Brownell advisors in the room with us, so we're really excited to have everybody. Before we get into it, Carrie, you could just take a couple minutes and set the stage. I know we talk about tools every time we come on here, and for the advisors on the call who maybe haven't experienced one of these before, it would be a good thing to have a notepad open or have a notes app on your phone open just to take notes as we go along today, because I know we're going to get to a lot. But earlier in the week, Carrie, you said this is sort of the dawning of a new age of technology in the travel business. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you meant by that?
Sure. So technology has finally caught up in the travel world. There certainly have been applications as an individual advisor that we've been able to use along the way, and there's been tech for enhancing our business. What I think has changed, what I know has changed, is that finally 2023, 2024, there are enhancements for the actual agency. And I think that that has been something that has been delayed for quite some time. Unless an agency created their own proprietary software, whether it was a CRM or something to do with marketing, there wasn't really a lot out there that they could subscribe to. Well, the times have changed and there are those opportunities. And I want to put that out there because I know that there may be people new to the industry that are looking for an agency, or you have questions of your existing agency that you love. And I think that it's important just to go through a couple of things from an agency level that are new and coming out for you to sort of think about of what your expectations can be from your agency. So I think a really big new thing on the scene is an updated CRM. There have been very, very antiquated CRMs that were out there that made it so that an individual advisor had to have their own CRMs, that you couldn't necessarily lean entirely into the agency as a one-stop shop for everything. And that's been a huge game changer. These CRMs are compatible with the GDS. They are compatible with different apps and tools like an Access Itinerary Builder, different marketing platforms. The other thing is that they're very secure. And so when you think about how you're trying to collect client data, whether it's credit card numbers, whether it's passport information, you think about the information that our clients trust us with, and getting it in the most secured way and handling it and keeping it in a very responsible way. That's a lot of pressure. And that's something that creates trust with your client. These new CRMs have dashboards. So it used to be that the advisors had to lean into the agency to get data on how is my sales tracking? Who are my clients that are the top producers? What are my margins? Now all of these are available from the advisor perspective. It just makes you a lot more independent in how you're setting up your business day to day. Thinking about Angela's coming in next week and talking about sales strategy. I think that that's super, super important, and it ties into all of this. So just some examples are TripSuite, Trace, Turn. There's a lot out there. And again, you as an individual advisor may not have influence on what your agency does, but I think it's important that you could join the conversation, or, as you're looking at something to consider. The other big thing that has been a game changer are GDS overlays. So you may be someone who works in Sabre or Amadeus or any of the other GDS systems that are out there. They're really hard to navigate. They are an old DOS, Cross of Lorraine. You have to be bilingual to understand how the GDS works. And the GDS is important when you're looking for hotels for your clients. If you're looking for air itineraries, maybe you're not actually booking the air, but you want to see, can I actually get to this destination through this destination? These GDS overlays are a game changer. There's Travel Pro 365, there's Travel Wits, and these are a way that it looks like an Expedia from a user experience of what you can do and what you can access, but you're plugged into the GDS. So that's a game changer also as far as the efficiency of an advisor.
Yeah, and I know you asked a lot of advisors in your network, Carrie, about these tools.
Yes,
It
yes,
does
I
seem like
crowdsource.
it does seem like GDS is a huge topic for advisors now. There's a huge shift happening in the industry. It feels very much like we're in the process of things changing a lot, which I know advisors are kind of used to in their careers. But this is the first time I'm hearing about Travel Pro 365 and Travel Wits, which seem to be two places advisors might be able to start when they're trying to come up with solutions to these problems.
Yes, and a lot of agencies are offering it too. There was Booking Vault, which unfortunately didn't last, but I think the point is that there are a lot of other people out there that know that it's important, that this next grouping of advisors, they're moving fast and they need to have access to information very, very, very quickly. And so it just provides the opportunity for them to have access, even if you only use it as a research tool. Maybe you don't want to book it that way. Maybe that makes you nervous and you still want to go straight to the hotel or whatever it is that you want to do, but to be able to type in to say, I need a 4 or 5-star hotel on the left bank in Paris, and it'll populate for you and it'll give you availability, it'll give you an idea of rates. That is a huge time saver.
Yeah, so I know we're going to get into other tools, other category tools now, but just to sort of to recap the first two we went through, updated CRMs, which I know you mentioned is something that maybe you don't have much control over, but it's good to know about. It's good to know there's options out there, especially when your agency or your host or anyone else is looking for feedback. And then the other one
Yes,
is GDS overlay
overlay.
systems. And these are
Yes,
two categories of tools that are very specific to this kind of work, and advisors should
yes.
be aware of. Yeah.
Yes, and it just not a lot of investment was happening on technology for our world, and it is now, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it is. I know, and I know there's again the GDS. I see some comments with the GDS in the chat already, and I know that's going to be an issue. It does seem like there's going to be hopefully more solutions coming along as more airlines sort of make moves that some have made over the past 12 months or so. So hopefully there's more in this category, but that's a good place to start. Um, I know, like you mentioned, those are very specific to the advisor business. I know there's other tools that we're going to go through now that sort of are general tools or maybe a little more general tools that can help a lot of different entrepreneurs and help manage an agency business because most agency owners consider themselves entrepreneurs. And the first category you wanted to get into, Carrie, was managing email, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I want to reflect back, as you mentioned, Dan, you were so kind to have me last fall. I went back and just wanted to make sure that we didn't duplicate a lot of things. And so we spent a lot of time talking about marketing on that call, task management. And so a lot of those are still very, very relevant, but I just wanted to go down a little bit of a different avenue.
Okay.
And so I think maybe the two main buckets are the idea of automation. And then I do want to talk about artificial intelligence because I think
Okay.
it's really important. And so on the idea of automation, I think when you're talking about your email, there are a couple of hacks that you can do that are not fancy, that you don't necessarily have to have AI for, and it would be hugely helpful. And so one of the things is we get a bajillion emails every
Yeah.
day. And so, the important emails are the ones that are from your clients and from your supplier partners. There are a lot of other emails that come in, and supplier partners, when I say they're important, I mean as it relates to a specific trip. But then you also have the update emails. And so whether it's information from your consortia or your partners or new offerings from a cruise line, whatever that information is important as well, but it doesn't get to go to the very top of the list. And so in your email, there is a way that you can create a rule that you can move specific, you can tell it to look for a certain thing, and you can create a file folder, and your email will automatically move that email based on that cue word that you're giving it into that folder. And so, and you can use that in a bajillion different ways, but the one way I want to specify today is related to all of those knowledge emails that come in. And the best way to do that is 99% of those emails that you subscribe to have an unsubscribed button at the bottom. And so if you set up your rule in Outlook, I'm most familiar with Outlook. I know that Gmail does have this idea of a rule as well. You can put in the word unsubscribe. And so any newsletter that comes in every day is automatically going to dump into that file folder. And then all of that is there for you to review depending on what works best for you. So for me, my brain works better in the morning. I'm super efficient. I get my stuff done. By the time 4 o'clock, 4:30 rolls around,
Yeah.
I'm tapped out,
Yeah.
but I still need to do some work. So that's when I'm going to go into that folder and I'm going to skim through and I'm going to see what Explorer Journeys has to offer or whatever that is and go through it. So I'm still working, but I'm cleaning up. Or if you're a person who needs 40 cups of coffee before you get going in the morning, and that's going to be how you start your day, you're going to go into that folder and you're going to go through and you're going to clean it out. Two things to know: clean it out every day. It's only going to get worse every day. If you didn't read it today, goodbye. You're not going to read that one tomorrow. I promise you, because then there's double that amount that's in there tomorrow. And if it is a flash sale, if it is a promotion, if it is a new hotel, if it is a new offering from one of your on-sites, they're going to ping you again. So it's not like the news is lost. Also, you guys will repeat stories too. So we will find it again. The other hack that I have is that if an email comes in and you're not interested in it, unsubscribe immediately. whenever we sign up for something, when we join trade shows, if we go on a tour EDU that's done by the tourism board, our email is given to every single person in that realm. And now you're on their mailing list. And so if you know that you really, you may never sell a particular riad in Morocco, or you may, but you're not going to do it today, unsubscribe from that email. It takes you 2 seconds to scroll down, hit unsubscribe, and move on, because then it's not even going to show up again. So, I mean, sometimes I feel silly saying these things because it sounds so obvious, but we all need a reminder because we just get bogged down in other stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree, Carrie. I fly all primarily one airline, but once in a while you need to fly a different airline
Yeah.
because the route, and you get the same many emails from the secondary airline, and you not necessarily don't need to be on their marketing lists. I did have a question, but I think I found the answer because I use Outlook a lot, like you.
Yep.
And I was wondering where you put these rules in, but there, if you can highlight a message and it's just the top of your Outlook app on your computer, on your desktop, it has next to move, it has a rules section where you could put by sender, by keyword, by unsubscribe, like you said. So it's really easy to find. I assumed it would be difficult to find, but it really wasn't. I did it right here.
Yes, and you can't, the other thing is by person too. So if have I would not recommend, so here's the extreme of this the other way. You can feel compelled that you would do it by person. And so I'm working on Dan McCarthy's trip to Ireland. Of course, Dan McCarthy's going to Ireland. And so and I could sort it by Dan McCarthy. And so that all my conversation related to Dan McCarthy goes into one folder. But there is such a thing as pushing to stuff out of your site. And now that's gone there and you forgot to check it. And Dan McCarthy needed to tell you that he had to change his travel dates and you missed it. So I would use that rule not for clients and not for specific trips. If you have a team you're managing, that is something that you can do. But I think it's mostly for sort of the low-hanging fruit that I would use that rule.
Yeah, and I think what this would help me with, I think, is getting overwhelmed when maybe I have been on a 5-6 hour flight and during the workday, and I know my email inbox is going to be crowded when I check it again. I think it would help a lot. Or when you do have when you are, I know it's impossible for advisors to take any kind of breaks now, but if you are lucky enough to take a break, it seems like something that would really help you with a lot. And I think we spoke about in the past, Kerry, like time blocking, like only a certain amount of time per day on emails, things like that. And it just seems like there's so many tools to be available. Email takes up so much time for advisors. I hear stories about advisors late at night, 8 or 9 o'clock answering emails. So these tools feel incredibly valuable.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are big time. Another 2 more thoughts on email. I actually learned, so yes, just to mention too, I do crowdsource. So this is not me being super smart. This is me being smart enough to go to the people to ask their thoughts on it. So thank you to everybody in our community who crowdsourced on this. But a colleague in the industry, he is an agency owner. And if you are in that sort of a position where maybe you've got a team under you, a case where you would be CC'd on a lot of emails, what he has a rule for is that any email that he is CC'd on automatically goes into a file folder. And so the assumption is that when you're the CC, there's not a direct call to action for you. And you're just sort of in the loop on if they needed to give you a heads up or if they needed you to weigh in. And that then allows you to manage your inbox of all things that are directly related to you, that is a call to action for you as you go through your day. And then 3 to 4 times a day, take a peek into that CC and see, did they call you out on anything? Is there anything you need to specifically mention? Is there something you wanted to jump in and add a comment on? You can do that, but knowing that you're the CC means that your response can be a little bit more delayed. And it's a great way to keep your inbox on task and clean in what you're doing, and you really can work it through the day.
Yeah. And so you can do that through Outlook, through
Yep.
Google. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that seems to be great if you're easily distracted, if you're working on something and you see the especially Outlook, the box pop up on the bottom right. It seems an easy way to avoid some of that.
Yes, and especially too, if you're going to be working on a project or something where you just, it needs concentration of ensuring, that the flight matches, that you have enough connection time, that the transfer is going to be there when they pick them up, that your dates match when the ship's going to leave, whatever that is, when you need concentration. It's a great way to kind of put that aside.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So a couple more email tools. And again, like I mentioned, setting boundaries is important. We mentioned time blocking, and I know there's another tool you want to talk about with sort of along those lines, setting boundaries when it comes to email.
Yes. So, and forgive me if we did talk about this before, but an important tool that you can use in Outlook, Gmail has a API for it, and it's called Boomerang. And it is a way that you can delay sending your emails. So two thoughts come to mind. One, as we all know, the good and the bad of our jobs is that people are talking about travel outside of work times. They are having dinner on a Wednesday night. They're having a boozy brunch on a Sunday afternoon. They've gotten engaged on a Saturday night. Whatever that is, that's when they want to talk about travel. Well, that's not when you want to talk about travel. And so managing expectations with your clients. Now, if somebody gets engaged and they send you, you've got to reply immediately and say congratulations. But if it's, something else that can wait, it's a way that you can address that question and pause on when that email is going to send. Another point of what we do, I don't know about all of you, but I'm pretty sure that you're catching up on your emails and your work late at night after the kids, the dog, the partner has gone to bed, or you're up early in the morning before any of those people are awake, or you're catching up over the weekend. You don't want your clients, they already think you're working 24/7 and you're available 24/7, and you want to dispel that and you want to create your boundaries. So on that Sunday morning, when you're sitting down and you're catching up and you've flown through 80 responses that you have, set a time that they will not deliver until Monday morning at 8 a.m. or whenever you want that to go, and then they will go. Same on if you get that answer, you get that question from a client at 9 o'clock at night and you're working, so you're fine and you're going to go ahead and respond. My advice is to time that so that it'll go the next morning in normal work hours. Because what also happens, not only are you managing expectations that you're not going to be available 24/7, the other thing is that now you're in a conversation because you wrote back. Now they're going to write back, and then you're going to feel like you need to write back. And so now 2 hours later, it's 11 o'clock at night. You haven't gone to bed and you just lost all of this time on something that you can't really do anything with anyway. So, and I love what Kimberly said about don't respond during non-business hours. I'll tell you something else that we have advisors that do, and I think it's brilliant. They'll set an out of office for the weekend. I'm currently out of the office. If it is an emergency, please let me know. And PS, you already know which clients of yours are traveling. And I think we talked about this before too. If you need to be aware of the departures that are going on and the things that could go bump. So if you know that you have someone who has a super tight connection at Charles de Gaulle, which we know is a terrible airport, tee yourself up that something might go wrong and there might be a bump and you may need to be available. And in that case, it is an emergency and you can respond. But beyond that, I totally agree with you, Kimberly. It's just, and again, we're working outside of office hours, but that's why I just recommend timing it. So Boomerang is what you can use for Gmail for that. And Boomerang actually even has more tricks and hacks with it that you can dive a little bit deeper into if you wanted to, because there is a subscription to it. So if you're paying for something, you want to maximize it the most you can.
Okay. So this would be like I read Kimberly's comment as well. This would be for you do want to get something done, or you do want to check some stuff off your to-do list outside of working hours, but you don't want to start a thread that's going to crush your ability to live a life. So you can do some work those emails, but those emails won't go out. It won't potentially start a thread until you're comfortable doing so, which is during your work week. So that would sort of solve those issues.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And Carrie, you mentioned artificial intelligence, and again, like Tom dropped the link to Boomerang into the chat if anyone does want to check it out. Again, it's for Gmail, and I know Outlook again makes these tools pretty obvious. So if you do, or if you're an Outlook user, you can get in there and use it. But AI seems to be invading every point of our lives right now. I know a lot of advisors are using things like ChatGPT to write marketing copy. I know some groups, some agency groups in particular, have developed their own AI tools to accomplish what they need to accomplish. But there are some other AI tools available for these kind of tasks, for email tasks as well.
Yes, yes. And my thought on AI has been, I feel like everybody has been talking about it, and no one is actually, not no one. I think it has been difficult to find, great, what are the direct applications to my business? And I think that that's part of what has been frustrating for me. And so I thought it would help kind of hone in a little bit on it. My first recommendation overall with AI is it can be very, very useful. Here are my two things to say. One, most of the applications that you're using today are already going to incorporate their own AI component into it. So Zoom has an AI component. Microsoft has an AI component. We use Airtable. Airtable has a new AI component that's coming to it. So rather than feeling pressured to leave something that's already working for you because you feel like, oh my gosh, what's the latest and greatest on AI that I've got to incorporate? Pause for a second and see if you can engage in an AI add-on component to what it is that you're already using. So that's my first advice. My second advice is to not work backwards on the AI idea. And what I mean by that is all these new suggestions of AI are out there. Rather than reading the latest newsletter and going, oh my gosh, what is Motion AI, or what is Chat GPT, or what is, whatever any of these AI components are, first figure out your need. What is the problem I'm trying to solve? And then go search an AI application to help you with it. Because if you decide to go out there and research every new thing that's showing up every single day, you're going to spin forever and forever. And this whole idea of AI helping you move along is actually going to set you back because you're spending too much time in these things. So, and there is a thread on appointments too that we can come back to as well, Dan.
Okay.
So that's my first thought on AI. And actually, so this is a good segue into Calendar. And I agree with everybody about Calendly. And we talked about that on the last call. And we love Calendly because it's a way that you create the windows that people can contact you. And there's a free version that is just very simple. There is a paid version, which is great because in that paid version, you can create the different conversations that you want to have, and you can send those links to your clients. So if it's a pre-trip, if it's we call them discover calls, which is when you're going to talk to Dan McCarthy and you're going to hear all about the wants and needs that he needs for his trip. You're going to send Dan an hour-long invitation for that. If it is just a, hey, I need to keep you up to date, you're going to send him a 30-minute call, depending on whatever it is. And so you can create those individual links and send. One word of advice that I would give, because we had some advisors talking about putting the Calendly link on their website so that anyone who was interested in working with them could go ahead and set up a call. My advice is to not do that. I would do an inquiry form first, because what if this person wants to go to Europe for a week for $3,000? It's not happening. So it's not to say that you couldn't get them further along or that you could change their minds. But I think to do an inquiry form initially, and maybe even having a few emails back and forth of, I see it's $3,000. Is that really your budget, or can you be more generous? Then set up the call. Your time is so precious, as we all know, that if someone just automatically was able to click and take an hour of time out of your day, not such a great idea. So I love Calendly. I love it as a secondary point of contact and conversation with people, not as an initial one.
Yeah, and that Calendly incorporates itself into your emails as well, into Outlook, into Gmail, if you want it to work like that. I know, and it does seem like, I know we spoke about it. We might have spoke about it the first time too, Carrie. But I know I've seen it. It seems to have invaded the industry. Like, I've seen it on so many email signatures, so many people when we're communicating and we want to talk. It's always, hey, book an appointment on my Calendly, and it does make it great for both sides, because you know what times are open, they know what times they're available. There's no back and forth. Does this time work? Does that time work? So it saves a lot of communication as well.
For sure. And so now, next step when we talk about AI, Motion AI is a great new applicate. Well, not super new. I mean, I think it's probably been out for probably a year. And Julie Summer, who's one of our young, super smart advisors, gave me this tip, and she uses it. And basically, what that is it's a Calendly meets your task list. And so Motion AI is sort of like a task management calendar. And what you do when you think about the time blocking and everything, you're putting that in that Motion AI calendar. And so say that you had blocked out 2 hours in the morning for marketing and you didn't check the box, you didn't do it for whatever reason. Your child was sick or you just couldn't bear to think about marketing. Motion AI is going to go, they know you didn't do what you're supposed to do, and they're going to move that task to another time that's free in your calendar. And so it is automatically watching and seeing what's happening to keep you on task with your calendar. And so it's a neat way to incorporate AI into your calendar management. And so the Calendly is going to speak to your calendar, and then the Motion AI is going to help you manage to ensure that you're getting to everything that you need to get to.
Okay. So it's like it's a to-do list almost, but it holds you accountable.
Yes, and it
Okay.
and it moves things for you. So it
And it moves
thinks
things
for
forward.
you. So it finds the space that you need, and it will, keep you on top of things. So when so Motion AI is a very good example of an artificial intelligence way of sort of keeping you on task. We still love Trello. We still love Asana. We still love Todoist. I think that there are a lot out there, and you need to find what works for you. Another just note on to-do lists. I am a paper person. I love
Mhm.
paper. I've got my notebook. If you're a paper and pen person, this is my recommendation for you. The paper and pen notebook is for today, period. And that's what you're going to accomplish today. So you can scratch it off your list and you can get that feeling of satisfaction and know at the end of the day what you've accomplished. When you talk about bigger projects, if you're talking about trips, if you're talking about marketing, if you're talking about things that you need to do, I absolutely recommend that you have it in a digital format, because one, you're going to have access to it while you're on the road. You're going to have access to it while you're in your car and you're waiting for carpool or drive through or whatever it is that gets you in your car. You're going to have it on your phone. You are going to have it for teams. What if you hire people and now it's more than just you who's working on something? You're going to have that collaboration ability. By the way, Motion AI has a great collaborative element to it too. So it's also great for teams. So that's just my note on getting a brand new, beautiful notebook and using it. I get it, but you need to have the digital component also.
Yeah, that's funny, Carrie. I'm looking at several to-do lists in front of me, written out and crossed off. And as you mentioned that, I've used the to-do list. Apple, I have an iPhone. Apple has a free one, so if I am
Yeah.
out, like, I want to add something to the paper to-do list, I have to put it on there. But it does seem like you mentioned, like, going digital and being able to collaborate too is something that's incredibly valuable and incredibly important. So,
Yes.
you mentioned Motion AI has the collaboration component. Are you aware of any, like you mentioned Trello, Asana, or are you aware if those have a collaboration
Yes,
component as
they do.
well? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes, it's great. And there are different boards based on the different things that you're working on. And the other neat thing about a digital task management system is you can copy and paste. So, you're gonna create a template. Your template for a trip is the same every single time. Now the person's different and you may not have to do the transfers or whatever, but you can copy and paste those templates for every trip that you have. And so you're not recreating something every time.
I am gonna trial these out and I'll report back to everybody. I'm just curious. I mean, we have a lot of people on the call with us right now. If does anyone use Monday, Trello, or Asana, or Todoist? I'd love to hear from you in the chat, because I think this is going to be incredibly important for everyone, especially as more advisors come into this industry, as more teams are built and things like that. Yeah.
And the other thing is too, every single one of these applications has a free trial period. So give it a whirl. If you're thinking of changing, try it for 30 days and see. Again, don't try 5 of them for 30 days. Do
Mhm.
your initial research, narrow it down to 2. Some of them, it's just as simple as how it looks. I have people who hate the way that Asana looks. Trello is cleaner to them. It looks better. It vibes with them. It can be so simple, like it's kind of like the don't choose the bottle of wine based on the label. Well, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you can do that for these task management tools because it's what appeals to you and what's going to draw you in and engage you and make you want to do the work. So try the 30-day free trial. The other thing too is, while there are a lot of applications that are out there, again, this goes back to, if you're using something and you love it, you don't necessarily have to leave it. Pay attention to what you're signing up for, because some things are comprehensive and they do cover a lot of what you need to do, that you don't need 5 other things. This one thing's going to work, because those $8 and $12 per month, they add up. And so just, you want to be careful of how you're spending your money as an independent business owners. Those things can really add up.
Yeah, I've had to set reminders on my calendar for when a trial expires, just to make sure I'm
Yeah,
canceling, or if I like it, I know the um the charge is coming. I see a lot of Trello, a lot of recommendations for Trello. Janine started using Motion. It's because we have some paper and pen people too. So it's good to know. I'm like you mentioned, Carrie. I saw one comment that was said that they don't have the Nona said she doesn't have the time to maybe learn Trello. Any advice on not feeling overwhelmed when you do install or sign up for one of these tools and feel like you need to go through a college course to be able to use it the best of your ability? Any advice on sort of getting over those feelings?
well, one, I would say crowdsource. Ask within your agency, or ask within your, whatever group it is of people. Maybe you've got your own mastermind group, or whoever it is. Ask around. What are they using? And then
Yeah.
and then when they say I'm using this, say, why do you like it? Ask the question. Plenty of people are going to be happy to share what it is, and if there's a person who works similarly to you, then you're going to know why they like it. Or, if don't choose someone who does business entirely differently, because chances are you're not going to agree on the same thing. And then the other thing is, start small. Don't try to revamp your entire business system. Start with Trello if you want, and just start with your basic task list for today, and then incorporate the client journey or your marketing, editorial calendar or whatever that is. Start small, and then just, again, you're going to know within 3 days if you hate it. I don't like the way this works. It's not intuitive to me. I don't love it. And you're going to know. And again, just narrow it down to 2 and try it out.
Okay, so we've been over CRMs, we've been over some GDS stuff. Email tools really, really big. Appointments and calendars and collaboration tools really, really big. I know we have a couple more things to get to, Carrie, and one of them,
Sure.
I think I mentioned ChatGPT. I know a lot of advisors are using that for content creation.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about any other sort of alternatives or any other content related AI tools that might be relevant for the audience?
Sure. I think we all know that Chat GPT is great for content. Um, I, People say this all the time, and I don't think that you can say it enough. You must review it. You want to make sure that it's your voice, and you can send it through a couple times. So when you create your prompt of what you want it to tell you or what you want it to write for you, if it doesn't sound exactly like you, adjust a couple of words in the prompt and send it to them and have them redo it. I sent a job description through. So, these are the things that you can do. You can send captions for your social media. You can send emails. You're trying to break up with a client and you're like, oh my gosh, what is the nicest way that I can say, it's not me, it's you. And and you can put the prompt in of how you want it to sound. When the job description came back, there were a couple of versions. One was stellar. It was so much more exciting of a job description than I could ever come up with. I was just kind of in the nitty gritty. But then they also had another one that made it sound like people were just going to be going to Africa forever and not really have to work that hard and whatever. Okay, well, that is not what I wanted to convey. So same as in an email, same as in any of your social media, you need to go back through and ensure that it is your voice and that it makes sense. I think that that's obvious, but I think it's worth sharing it again.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people using ChatGPT, and just like I guess my warning would be, it does seem to make a lot of assumptions, and
Yes.
this is a very particular industry when it comes to like language and things that can get you in trouble, and you have to be careful about those assumptions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. And the other thing, um, shoot, what was the other thing I was going to say about that? I think that was pretty much it for that. There is something cool called Droppler, and that is an AI tool that will help you in creating things. So it is a way that you can do screen grabs in a very easy way and populate them in if you're trying to do a proposal for someone, or if you're putting something into an access itinerary. It's a way for you to do easy recordings. So it's sort of like a design tool for dummies a little bit. You and I have talked about Canva before. And Canva is very cool, but Canva is also for people who sort of have that artsy flair and want to use this to fulfill the talents that they have. When you use Droppler, it's a way of just finding content that appeals to you and grabbing it and getting it out there. You can make edits to it. You can mark it up without having to go into Paint or, any of those other applications where you're doing two things at once. So I think it's really cool. It's, oh yeah, you've got it. So that's kind of a neat thing when you're talking about proposals. We're always trying to, differentiate ourselves, and whether it's from other advisors or if it's a client you've had for 10 years, you want to keep things fresh and new, and how are you doing things differently in what you're presenting to them? And I think that that's a neat way to do it. Droppler also has a video component to it, and you and I talked about Loom last time. I still love Loom. I think that it is a great way to do a video introduction to a client, or it's a great way to do a pre-trip. Hey, sent you your final itinerary. These are some of the things that I want to hammer out. Ideally, you want to be on the phone with a client, but we all know that good luck with that sometimes, that they just don't have the time to do it. And so those are really neat, easy ways to get your face, your personality in front of the client with a conversation and a message that's specific to them.
Yeah, and I know a couple of advisors who are using Loom, not for their terms and conditions, but almost for an introduction instead of that
Yeah.
going through, that long introduction sheet, that initial sort of conversation. And again, they see your face, they hear your voice. It seems very personal as opposed to an email with a PDF attached. So I know a lot of advisors are starting to incorporate that into their workflow as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's so
Yeah.
easy to do. It's so easy. Yeah.
All right, so I know we only have a few minutes left, but there's another tool that's going to play into this content creation.
Yes.
Gamma, is that right, Carrie?
Oh, yes. Gamma is another one that will help create presentations. And
Okay.
what this will do, it'll help you with web pages. So one of the things that we talk about whenever you create your website, whatever that is, we always tell people it's probably easier to hire out and have a web developer do your website for you instead of you trying to work on that. Great. But you want to be able to know how to make edits and updates if you need to. You want to add a new picture from your trip to the Azores, or you want to add a new blog post, or whatever that is. You want to be well-versed in how to make simple updates to your website. What is cool about Gamma is that it can help you create web pages. And so if you have a new fee structure that you're introducing, or you're launching a blog, or you want to talk about a new, you've added on Africa as your specialty and you want to have a whole page dedicated to Africa, Gamma can help you create a web page, and it's compatible with Wix, it's compatible with Squarespace, it's compatible with WordPress. And so it's an easy way that you can do it and upload it to your existing website.
Yeah, and if anyone wants an introduction to Wix, Squarespace, or WordPress, that's something we spoke about before as well. Website building, I know, is incredibly important. I know some hosts and some groups offer that, but if you are looking for something different, Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, that's sort of your hub to go to try out.
Yep, agreed. Yes, and Travefy is great too. Access and Travefy are both really great at itineraries and proposals. Agreed.
All right, so one last category,
Uh,
and then I know we have a couple other tips, and then we'll wrap up. I believe we might have spoken about these before or mentioned them before, and I know a lot of people are using one of these. But Fathom and Otter are two tools that advisors maybe should get familiar with going forward.
Yes, 100%. And so these are AI tools that tap into your Zoom or Google Meet or Teams, whichever you use for your video conferencing that you have, and it will do a transcript for the conversation that you had with your client. So here's the so what in so many ways of why this is important. One, that transcript is going to help you ensure that you didn't miss something. You know, when Dan's going to Ireland, if he's like, I absolutely do not want to do the Ring of Kerry for whatever reason, and you were like, okay, he wants the Ring of Kerry, I've got to make sure to incorporate that. It happens. You're getting so much information from that initial call. You've got it. A recommendation that we have for our advisors is that when you do that discover call, you send a wrap up to ensure that you caught everything that they said and that you all are on the right page before you ever go down the road of planning that trip. Well, now you've got the transcript. So you can go through, you can clean it up, you can hit the highlights. They will even do, you can sort it in various ways. You can do the full transcript, you can do questions, you can do highlights, you can do the top subjects, you can sort it and request the data in any way that you want to. So you've got it on that end. The other thing is that now you've got the data that you can repurpose into your RFP that you're sending to your partner. So it takes out the taking information in multiple different places and sending it. They've taken it for you. You're going to review, you're going to make it concise, you're going to take out what you need, and you're going to send it to the client, and they're going to use it to send the RFP. So I think and this is another place, Dan, where I said, you know, don't go out and have to find it if you don't want to. You know, Microsoft has a version of it. Zoom has a version of it. Fathom is its own subscription and it's compatible with all of those. And it's got a couple more bells and whistles to it. One of the things is it'll tell you if you talked more or if the client talked more, which is kind of interesting because depending on what the call is, you want the client to talk more. So, I mean, you can cut and slice it any way that you want to, but it's just a huge time saver.
Yeah. So I have a question on Otter and Fathom. I haven't used it, but when we do Master Advisors, we do some webinars and we get a lot of Otters registering or a lot of Otters coming
Yeah.
in with their owner, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
How I know, and I know this might be a question for the chat too, but how accurate is the information that it is transcribing for you? Is it a certain level of reliability that you can use it on a regular basis?
It depends. So you can summarize and you can do a full transcript. So we have used it in our internal leadership team meetings and we've used the summary. And it's actually been pretty funny because our VP of operations will send in, she's like, look what this AI thought we were talking about today. And it was all over the place. So I think if you're asking them to summarize, that can be a slippery slope as far as accuracy is concerned. But if you're doing the full on transcript, it's word for word.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Amazing. I know a lot of people love recording. I know they feel safe with recordings. But I know there's also a time component to that too, because you're repeating the time you took earlier in the day to listen to it once again. So these tools do seem like huge time savers for me. So it's definitely something I'm going to look into as well. I think that was all the particular tools we wanted to get to today, Carrie. We do have a
Someone
few.
also mentioned Remarkable
Yeah.
in the chat, and I agree. Remarkable. So Remarkable is a pad that you can write on. You can also do this on your iPad too, and then it will upload what you've written. Now, if you have great handwriting, it can take that and it can translate it into a Word document that you can edit. You can do whatever you want to. If you do not have great handwriting, it can't read you, but it can still save it, and it'll save it basically as a picture of those notes. So you just need to kind of know the difference of who you are and how clear your writing is and how you want to handle it. But either way, I do think it is a great tool. They're pricey. They're probably $250 to $300, something like that. But I think as a one-time investment, I think it's smart.
Yeah. And
Four
I see it.
49. They're 449 right now. That's what it says. Holy smokes. Okay, well, it's a lot, but worth it.
And I see again, I know we mentioned Turn. It seems like a lot of people are interested in Turn. It seems like I saw someone mention that they got a intro to it at the Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum.
Mhm.
Um,
I haven't
it
quite figured out if it is,
yeah.
it feels to me, it almost feels too much for an independent travel advisor, but maybe not enough from an agency perspective. So I have to be honest, I don't know as much about Turn. And as you're thinking about like a CRM from a independent advisor,
Mhm.
we still love Travel Joy, which we talked about last time too. So we're still digging into Turn to really kind of understand where it falls.
Yeah, and I know we might have ran some marketing too for Turn recently. I know it just seems like CRMs are just the lifeblood for every single person selling travel, anyone running a business. So it seems to be a mix and match. Not a mix and match, but it seems to be a trial and error sort of game where you have to figure out which one is the best for you and your
Yeah,
business and your clients. Yeah.
everybody works differently. So we all do the same job, but we all run our businesses differently and we all operate differently. And like I said, even the visuals of how does something look to you? Are you going to want to be in it every day or does it turn you off? One other thing too, when we were talking about investments, and maybe we're going to hit on this, but it's kind of random. It's not AI. It's nothing super fancy, but I don't know if you guys have caught on to the portable monitor. So there's a travel monitor. And so I think most of us, when we're working, we are working with at least two monitors. Some people are probably working with three, and one is your inbox, and then the other one are your trips or the internet or whatever that is. And we are on the road all the time. That's what we do. We're supposed to be out on the road. And you can feel handcuffed by only having that laptop with you. And I will tell you that an investment in another monitor that basically looks like a tablet, it's the size of a tablet, feels like a tablet, it's easy to put into the same work bag with your laptop when you're going. It totally maximizes your productivity when you're traveling to have that second monitor. And you can get them on Amazon. You can do from $149 up to $300 depending. But I think that's another great investment piece as far as efficiency of while you're on the road.
Yeah. So I see some questions piling up in the chat.
Okay.
Someone bought a second monitor, and again, it's very cheap on Amazon. And if all you need is it for to have your Outlook or your email open, you don't need any fancy graphic cards. They're not that expensive and they're not difficult to find. Um, I know a lot of people are gonna have questions, and I just want to drop the YouTube link again because we'll have this uploaded later tonight or tomorrow morning. You can go ahead, you can rewatch this, you can rewatch the other two with Carrie as well if you have the time. But Carrie, I know we're out of time, but I just want to say thank you so much. I know we went through so much today, and I know these tools are incredibly important. Any last thoughts, anything you want to share, or any words of advice for sort of like you mentioned, this new sort of wave of travel technology that it seems like we're just getting into right now?
We are. I would just reiterate, don't feel overwhelmed by it. And, know where, figure out your pain point first, and then look for the way to automate it or to have artificial intelligence manage it for you. So work that way. Don't work backwards. Don't get turned on by the shiny object and think that you've got to do something. And then I would also say, if it ain't broke, if you've got a great system, keep with it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's okay. And I want to thank everybody for crowdsourcing and sharing all their things in there. I've learned some new stuff too, because I don't know what Komodo is, and I'm sorry, but Komodo, whatever it was, but worth looking into.
Yeah. Thank you again to everyone who chimed in today. I saw Heather mentioned what we were talking about a couple minutes ago. So thanks to Heather. She's been on here before. Thanks again to Carrie. Thanks to everyone who came out today. If you want to hear the recording again, go back to the Travel Market Report YouTube page. Otherwise, we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks with Angela Hughes. We'll talk about luxury travel and communication and things like that. But thanks again, and I'll see you all very soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.